Hello and welcome to the Dance of Soul. I'm Natasha Venter. I'm a multi-life intuitive. I like to bring consciousness to the world to see how you can get from the 3D world to the multi-dimensional world. So this is Regan. Hi Regan. Welcome back.
I'm Regan Forston with my website's visittheafterlife.com. I'm a life between life therapist with the Newton Institute. Um, we found a process about 40 years ago that's been fine-tuned now. We've helped about 70,000 people in a deep state of trance or relaxation, which most people can reach, to go visit heaven for a couple hours. And we found out hundreds of things about the afterlife, like, what happens when you die? What's the process? And where do you go? And
Mhm.
what do you do while you're there before you decide if you want to come back again or not? And
Exactly. And
it,
you get it more in I
yeah,
do the same thing, type of
so
thing. We
it's,
That's why we make such a good match with this show.
yeah, yeah,
And so today what we're going to talk about is why does change happen and how can we manage going through it and that trust and surrender type of dance we do because I know that both Regan and I have gone through a lot of change. And like all of us,
yeah,
we all have gone through change and we sometimes don't know why we're going through it until we have actually gone through it, or look back after a couple of years. And so
yeah,
it's one of those things that, why do we go through the changes that we do and, that kind of thing. And I have my perspective and I know Regan does have his and everybody has their own.
yeah,
So we're
yeah.
just going to give you a perspective and your
Okay.
truth is your truth, as we all like to say. But yet at the same time, this is a perspective that maybe help you out in your world.
Yeah. Anybody listening is today, if you've had something that's happened to you in your life would seem totally ridiculous, like what the heck is going on? But then later on, as you look back now, you can see like a divine guidance of some sort in there, or the wind of change coming in your life for a particular reason. um, Feel free to be part of the conversation today. And I'll say that a few times during this next hour because it would be great to hear from you. Because everybody, if you think about it, there are some people that, get up and go to work and everything's the same for 50 years and then they die. That happens occasionally. But for most
Mm-hmm.
people, life is just when you think you have things figured out, something comes along and uproots you, sends you in a completely different place that you've never been before, and a
Yes.
whole new series of lessons, come about. So, yeah, Natasha, I know like 30 years ago, you wouldn't have thought you'd be doing what you're doing right now, right? you know, and I
But
wouldn't have either.
I had hopes. There was something in me that knew that I was supposed to be doing something greater than what I was doing at that time. But I had to do the journey. And hello,
Yeah.
Veronica. I hope you're doing well
Oh, there's
and
Veronica.
life is happening with you and
Yeah.
and anybody else who's not, who's watching in the background, welcome, welcome. Grateful you're here to, to have perspectives on how to negotiate life and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. If you're on YouTube, be sure and chime in. Yeah.
yeah.
Like what, 30, 40 years ago, I was doing Barney at kids' children's parties, and, I was this big purple dinosaur. We go in and had these whole, hour birthday party I would do for children. So who would have thought I'd be doing, you know, that, as well as, of course, being a clown and a mime juggler and all that kind of thing, and had kind of like a traveling show for fairs and malls for a long time. And
Mhm.
even that, I was a real estate broker before that. So how do you figure? You know, I had a successful real estate company, and I gave it up to go to clown school. I had my father take it over, and I don't know. But it was all, it was just something just pushing me that I know I needed to do it. It was like an inner guidance, I guess you would call. You know,
Mhm.
something just comes along. Well, like for me, here I'm a real estate broker, and I have a dream about being a ventriloquist in a dream, and the dream was so powerful. That was in 1978. It was so powerful. When I woke up, I got up, put on clothes, and ran to the library, which I'd never done in my life, and I looked up ventriloquism. I, how do just have a dream and it gets you so much that you get in a car and run right down to the library. Something was going on inside me. I mean, that was so unusual for me, you know. And then I found that they had an association of ventriloquists. Who would have guessed that they'd have a national association of ventriloquists? So I wrote to them and I ended up taking a year-long correspondence course to retrain the way my tongue moves in my mouth. That's how ventriloquists talk without their mouth movement. Is that you learn to push air more through your nose rather than out through here. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
yeah, it's weird, but when you think about it, like right now, Natasha, when you're talking or people watching, pay attention to your tongue. It's all over the place inside your mouth. It's up and it's
Yes.
down. It's where we're just used to it, so we don't think about it. When people go, "Oh my gosh, I can feel my tongue is busy as heck in there," going here and going there and everything. So you just retrain yourself, and that's how you learn to um, not. So I don't know if I could do that. How you learn to not new your lips when you're thinking of something. You just learn to talk without newing your lips, and everything's cool. So.
Good job.
I don't know. So, but see, this wind of change, I guess we could call it today, right? Um,
Hmm.
and we've had these things. So, of course, if you're listening on YouTube, you can chime in with us and maybe tell us about something that happened to you that moved you in a whole different direction in your life, which you're wondering why. And later on, it becomes very, um, very, you find the reasons why.
Hmm. Well,
Later.
and like my friend said, that sometimes you go through that hell's fire. I know that there's somebody who I know that's going through some health things, and she was wondering what was going on, and then all of a sudden, they find out that they're being told one thing, and then find out it's another thing, and then you're grateful for the latter because
Yeah.
it's something that will pass quickly, and yet it still hurts like baloney, but yet at the same time it will hurt, but yet it's that going through the waves of should I do a scan, should I do colonoscopy, should I, and it's like, and you have to figure out what is your truth going through all these different changes, and our bodies are really going through a lot of change right now too, and it's like, why is it going through a lot of change? And I know for me that I'm kind of trying to get my body righted, and it's
Hmm.
gone through a lot. When we go through a lot of stress, our bodies go through a lot of stress, and so how can we treat that better? And it's that resetting ourselves, and I'm trying to do a little bit of here and a little bit there, just because I know that if I don't do it now, it's going to be harder to do it later. Because it's more years that. How many years did it take me to get here? That's how many years it's gonna, not how many years it's gonna take me to heal, but yet, because I'm asking my body to heal and I'm working with it intuitively and figuring it out and that kind of stuff. But it's that story of how do we get through it, and it's amazing, negotiating this world that we're in, because it is about change. We just came out of COVID. COVID was a huge change, and it really shook a lot of people up. But like me being at the Intuitive Fair I was at this last weekend, a lot of people were saying that they were grateful it happened, because they really found out
I
who
know.
they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually it gave them a chance to kind of do some that deep down shadow work that they weren't able to do, out at jobs and out at this and out at that. And yeah, some of us had family still at home, so we couldn't do it all in incognito or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time though, it was one of those things, and we're still doing a lot of that shadow work. But that's
Yeah.
how we become more enlightened, is by looking at our old stories, and how can we change them? How can we negotiate them?
Yeah. COVID, slowed people down. A lot of times we have issues and problems, and we we try to pretend we don't, and we keep ourselves busy, 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 so we don't have to think about them or deal with them. Then COVID comes along, and all of a sudden, you've got a lot more time on your hands, or you're with people that you may have some issues with for more hours than that. And so what COVID did is it helped to leach out all of our issues to put right in front of us, not just with us but the whole world. to see
Mhm.
what dysfunction that we've been carrying around with us that we were pretending we didn't have, or pushing it aside, So,
Exactly. And that's what we're still we need to work on that a little bit because we're going into the sign of Leo here. So there's a lot of fire. So there's a lot of the narcissistic attitude can come up a little bit. The that victimhood can come up a little bit. And then Venus isn't going into retrograde, which is dealing with monies and dealing with stories and a lot of our old, the old that wants to come back in, that wants to review. But I know I was knowing somebody who is actually asking their old job is asking them to come back.
oh, wait a minute. You mean they're let him work at home, and now they want him to come back into the office, or
No,
they
no, no,
want
no,
to
no, no, no.
they
They got
they
they got laid off, and now
oh,
they
and now
want
they
them
oh,
back.
wow,
And
wow,
and yet at the same time though, how does that coming back come in? Well,
yeah,
maybe now that they're coming back, they can actually go into another part of that scenario, and the people will see them again and go, and then you can help them, that person can help them out, and then they get into another job. And another,
yeah,
it's like there's other opportunities that come up because when they go back, they have a different understanding about what they want to do and who they want to be, right? It's
yeah,
not necessarily going back into the old work. They didn't really like it, but yet that can be, if you're not planning on staying there, what can it move you into? Because
yeah.
sometimes it's easier to get a job when you have a job.
Yeah, and don't you think if children knew from early on that the way the world is set up is for change to happen, then they wouldn't be so shocked when it does happen. But we get in kind of a fairy tale thing where when we get things and we like something a certain way, and there's part of us that thinks it'll always be that way. But just the way the planets are aligned, the energies of everything happening, it's set up so there's times of change and
Mhm.
times of calm, so it's not always in turmoil. But we can't, because we're working, we're energy ourselves, we're working completely with energies from thousands of things, like a big clock with all these wheels, and each one's a different energy, all working together. And the more understanding you have of that, the more easy it is. People always say so and so's in retrograde, oh my god, Mercury's in retrograde, it's going to be difficult. Well, we don't have to, we just know that, okay, let's see what happens. It's difficult in our life that's going to cause us to get off our butts and change something, or to do something different. So it's
Exactly.
actually a good thing, because once you go through, it's like having to go to college with a real difficult course, and you're in it, and you're cussing because it's so darn hard, but you're in there because you want to be in there, and you want to eventually graduate, and you begrudgingly sometimes, even though you signed up for it, are doing all the work that has to be done, late hours, you know, um, redoing tests, doing whatever you have to do. And then all of a sudden you're out of that class, and there's a time of rest a little bit, and you're looking back and you're so proud of yourself. Wow, I stuck with it.
Did
I
it,
did
I
it.
did it.
And now I have the knowledge to do things I couldn't do before, you know. So, yeah, now, change. We talked last week about divorce and that, partnership change was one of the big things. But everything's changing. I mean, the clothes. Look at how I was thinking the other day how, and I wonder who makes this up. I mean, Patty's telling me, he says, "Oh, pink is in right now. This other color is out." Oh, who decided that? Somehow, is a whole consciousness. Something happens to where nothing stays the same. Like we're not still not dressing like we did in the '70s or '80s or
Even though
'90s,
some
or the
people like
hairdos.
to, and they are, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, but change is inevitable. You know, in everything. I don't know. I mean, sometimes things might seem like they don't change, but some cycles are longer than others. You know,
Mhm.
so well, look at the climate change right now. Okay, for most of our early life and everything, you could pretty much count that at a certain time of the year it's going to be this hot and it's going to be that cold in the winter. You're going to have this many storms and everything. So you would think climate never changes. But look what's happening now.
And
You
it
know.
does. I mean, it's not a quick change. even though sometimes we can have 100 degrees and sometimes we don't have 100 degrees,
Hmm.
it's one of those things. But and I want to say real quickly, if you're watching on Twitter, or is supposed to be Twitter, they're even changing their name, that that if you want to, if you hi, how on Facebook. Thank you very much for coming here. But on Twitter, if you are watching on Twitter, do not get a comment if you want to say comments. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel, Natasha Venter AC, then you
Wait a
can
minute, say that
make
slower. Natasha
Natasha
Venter, what?
Venter AC.
Okay, and it's Ventor, Ventor.
Venter,
Oh,
ER.
I'm sorry, Venter. See, there we go.
Yeah, Natasha
Natasha
Venter
Venter
AC.
AC,
AC. Mm-hmm.
and that's on
YouTube,
YouTube. Yeah,
Facebook,
okay.
all my social media is Natasha Venter AC.
For
Um,
angelic clarification. So that's
or
good.
angelic
Makes it easier for
clarifications.com.
people. They don't have to
Exactly.
type for half an hour.
Yes. So it's Katerina. I finally got it. My dyslexia has been really triggered, so it takes me minutes sometimes to read something. So
Hello,
hello,
Katerina.
yeah, Katerina.
Katerina, where are you from? Do you know Katerina, or is she?
No. So welcome everybody. I love that people are new, and hi Paula. Thank you
Paula?
for being here, Paula Sheehan. And it's a gift that you guys are here, and we there's change happening everywhere. Oh, South Carolina, welcome.
Oh, wow. Yeah, South Carolina. That's really good. I know the shore, the I want to say Jersey Shores, but that's up further. Um, the Key, no, it's not the Keys. But my sister and brother-in-law down along the coast there. Well, actually, see North Carolina. Oh gosh. Oh well.
Don't
Anyway, they have
it,
a they have a house they rent out at the beach down there. So we drive when we fly into Richmond, Virginia. Then we drive a couple hours down to there. So maybe it's North Carolina. You know. Well, welcome.
well, welcome. Yes, we're always grateful that people are here because that's what we want to do. Both Regan and are here to really support life and get it moving forward for us because you know change is happening every day. And we look at you know every year we uh yes, she's saying thank you for the welcome. Every day it means change, and our digestive systems are like changing every day. Our cells are changing every day. It's like, should we buy a new car? Should we leave this job? How do I have a conversation with someone when uh, uh, it's one of those things that we can go forward and how do we do it? And I know that for me, the one of the first things when something comes at me, when it's coming at me, like somebody says something or there's a change that happens or something. What is this here to teach me? It's one of my first things that I go to because then it takes me out of victimhood.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it gives me a moment to breathe about it. It takes me a moment to do the stories of where we're at. And Paula says it sounds like the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Outer Banks. Yeah, North Carolina. There we go. Thank you. That's
Thank
Outer
you,
Banks.
Paula. It's
Yeah.
always it takes a community sometimes to get our brains thinking because we're
Well,
thinking this, and
yeah,
so
I'm on. Natasha and I are on the West Coast. I'm right close to the Golden Gate Bridge here in Marin County, above San Francisco, and Natasha's up in Washington,
yep, the
uh,
northern end of it. I'm about an
northern end
hour
of it.
south of the Canadian border.
Yeah.
So it's nice up here. But going into this, going into change, what is this here to teach me? Because conversations, arguments, job changes, sometimes those job changes, if we can move with them, even when I've had job changes and I've looked at it that every time that I found out and I kind of got down to, I want to say more lower plane, more worried about money, worried about the what I was going to do next. I was so tired of hearing no's, all those dances that you go through. But I can tell you though that like those times when my job has gone away, that I really found out that people around me that were always expecting me to be able to do stuff, it gave me a chance to say no and get some new boundaries up. So then
Yeah.
I learned about boundaries. So then when I got back into my footing underneath me, I knew how to structure my boundaries differently with my wording. That it wasn't that I was a victim anymore, but yet it was like, you know, payday's not for another week. I'm going to do the best I can here, right? So
Yeah.
it's that negotiation of who, what, where, when we get there. Why do we leave our mates, our partners, our friendships? You know, Sometimes those friendships aren't necessarily to stay all the time.
Hmm. Well, the thing that's interesting too about change is there's two kinds of change, and one is kind of a uh, divine change, I would say, and the other is changes that happen because of choices that we've made. So sometimes it's like the universe wants us to be in a particular place, and we don't quite know why yet, and it will somehow arrange things to happen in such a way that it gets us to where we need to be. But other
Mm-hmm.
times, because we've made poor choices or other choices because of free will, change happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think the main thing, like we want to point out today, I'm glad you mentioned that, Natasha, is let's all get out of victimhood, because victimhood does not serve anybody very well. It slows down your progress of what lessons you want to learn. Um, you know, don't if you get in the pity potty and you want to feel like a victim for a little bit, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's normal. We all kind of dip into that a little bit, I think. But
And
the
and
thing
it's
is,
healthy to acknowledge every emotion that we feel.
yeah,
Acknowledge it, but we don't wanna stay in it. We don't wanna, let it keep telling us a story. And that when we get into the same story over and over again, of the victimhood, then it's a really demeaning thing for our own selves.
hmm I think we could do a whole show on following inner guidance and try to explain more how that works. Because
Mhm.
Natasha, you and I both, it's like the more we do this work, the more connected we feel we are to the other side, the greater our intuition is, and the more likely we're able to see that and, go by our intuition, make the changes that we need to make. Um, but I always just call it the wind of change, how it just kind of comes in. Sometimes it comes in as a gentle breeze and picks you up and lays you gently down somewhere.
Mhm.
Sometimes it comes like a tornado and it just rips you to your core, you know, and throws you somewhere, with big changes. Sometimes that happens when a spouse dies unexpectedly or a child that you have dies unexpectedly, and it changes just your whole life goes in a different direction,
Well, you
that
just
way.
went through that in your family, and I'm
Yeah.
saying that because you did say it
Yeah.
here on the
Yeah.
shows
That's
that,
fine. Yeah.
but it does that, losing a child just takes your feet out from underneath you. And that grief is beyond anything that anybody can really feel, especially when
Yeah.
you really want a child and you really want to be a parent to a child.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing.
Yeah. So changes. I've been dealing with. I've been watching myself, like kind of from above, in a sense, watching my higher self watch me, with this, getting older. It started about 2 or 3 years ago, and when I just noticed that I couldn't do some things as well as I did 5 years earlier or 10 years earlier, and it was more, it was more pronounced, you know. Uh, uh, and so it's just the thing I'm dealing with now is to be joyful in this stage of watching myself, get to the later years of my life, you know, and because we kind of want to think, well, why can't I stay useful forever? And we try to stave it off as long as we can, but inevitably the wrinkles come, and we get older. Um, but the thing which I like is that what all this soul work, Natasha, that you and I are doing, um, it keeps me inside feeling, eternally youthful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went to a party last Saturday night. It was the niece of Patty's niece, and she works at Google, and she's established quite a few friends in the last year, and they're all around the same age. They're all like early 30 somethings, late 20s, early somethings,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just really getting their lives going now. And she had a housewarming party, so we were there with about 20, 30 somethings, late 20s, 30 somethings, and we're in our 65 and 70s. And afterwards, um, uh, her niece said, God, after we left a little early because they were going out to nightclubs afterwards, as young
Mm-hmm.
people do, and we were like, oh my God, we got to go home and go to bed. Um, they just said, wow, those people, those old guys, old couples, pretty cool. you know, like we were playing a couple games with them. We played, board games, kind of things. And, so, but the time when we were there, when I was talking and communicating with people, I just, age didn't seem to be a factor in anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was just two human beings conversing with each other and talking about cool, good things. So, yeah, I'm dealing with that, like with change right now. But so you guys that are listening today, what's is something really happened in your life that at the time you thought there's no way you can handle this change? Why did this happen? And now, sometime later, you look back and you go, you know what? That was so awesome that I went through that, because look at me now and what that change caused me to do, to change myself, to look at something differently, to grow somehow, to learn to be more kind or compassionate, or something like that. If you have any examples, feel free to, let us know. We'll talk about that a bit.
Well, I like
Um,
I like what Paula said. Sometimes Mary Poppins shows up with the winds of change.
yes. Oh, wow. Oh,
I love that. Thank you
that's
for
a
that,
really,
Paula.
that's really creates it doesn't seem like um, kind of softens change. Say Mary
Mm-hmm.
Poppins. It comes in. Yeah, look at with Mary Poppins, with that family, when she shows up as the maid, the whole family changes. You know, and what she creates. She actually, that's a really good metaphor. It's kind of like, Natasha, like somebody that comes to you is a medium, intuitive medium, who's never done that before. And all of a sudden, you're able to help them from getting access to the other side, or they talk to relatives that passed on, or you're able to see their past or something. Wow, that's like, it's like you become like a new family member in a sense, like a Mary Poppins in a way, and you show them that they can fly. You know,
Well, and that's
and
that's the
people.
whole thing. Yeah, because I did a fair this last weekend, and I was busy from 10 o'clock until till 4 o'clock when
I
it
bet.
closed, and it was like boom, 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 and people were so grateful that at least I hope that I did. I can only be who I am, and
Yeah.
like I had one person who said to me, she goes, "Boy, that was the nicest slap across the wrist I've ever had."
Wow.
You know, it's not like, because I'm not necessarily one to call a kettle black. I mean, I don't, but it's like it seems like right now that if we don't get ourselves together and own up that there was a couple people that are intuitive and they weren't listening to their intuitive gifts, and
Yeah.
it and or they were or my what I was telling them was a confirmation that they already knew that they needed to do, and here they weren't quite doing it. And you know we're all at a different time, like I'm at that time where it's like the last 30 years were pretty upswing. Well, now the next 30 years can be more of a downswing, but I don't feel like that. I feel like everything about me is going still up. And so with that when you're going through these, what you perceive needs to happen, like society says, well, when you reach 65 you should be retired. And my husband's saying the same thing. I mean, I'm like going, I'm hoping my energy sticks out for what my mind and my knowings
Yeah.
know to do, right? And I know
Yeah.
that you're pretty interactive. I've never seen somebody at your age get off the floor as quickly as you do. At least that was
Oh,
last
that's
year.
one thing that's bugging me because I mean, I never used to even think about getting off the floor. But now, as I'm getting off the floor, I'm aware of the process and the
Mm-hmm.
muscles and everything that way because I've slowed down a little bit. But I guess, yeah, I think for my, for my age, I'm still pretty athletic. Uh, so, yeah. Um, so the other thing about change um, is what about sometimes when it's not that the universe comes and just changes our life for us? Like, in other words, it's like all of a sudden we get a pink slip and we find out our company's been taken over and we get a 2 month severance thing and we got to find a whole new job. Well, what about the changes too that we want to make? For instance, you're in a job, you don't like the job, you know that you want to find something better, and a lot of times we are the people that make the change, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still scary on a similar level, because it's changed. Like maybe we have to learn a new skill, to get where we want to go. Maybe we have to move to a new town, you know um,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing, and those things are
I
kind of
know, it's
scary.
like I made this choice and now I gotta live with it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ah!
because sometimes we are the ones that need to change, but then we hesitate in that because it's sometimes hard for us to make the moves that we know we need to do in order to make that change. I always tell like my clients with life coaching too. I mean, the most common sense thing if you don't like your job is don't, maybe it doesn't make sense to just quit it and then find another job. Maybe it makes sense to look for another job, get it lined up, and then go in and quit, because it takes that anxiety out of being unemployed for a while. And all of a sudden, it's not as easy to find a job as you thought it was. And then you're getting behind the bills. All that anxiety it causes is crazy. Which should be a niece of mine, um, is a headhunter and a very good one. And she's been working for this company and really getting, doing well, and there was a personality kind of conflict with somebody. They took the side of the other person who was brand new over her that'd been there for years, really hurt her feelings and everything like that. So she just started, looking around for something. And then she found this other job, and then she went in and said, "Look, I just don't like being treated like that." She says, "Do you realize how much money I make, you guys?" And told her side of the story and said, "You need to actually listen to both sides and then see what's going on, not just believe somebody, whatever." And they said, "Well, we're sorry about that. I'll tell you, we'll take you back, even give you a little raise." She says, "Sorry about that. This new company I'm going with is paying me 3 times what you guys are paying me." So her taking that initiative and going out there looking for something, she got work to go to work with another headhunting thing, which is because she's so good at it. She's with a
Mm-hmm.
bigger someone. She's into the stratosphere with these really big jobs now, so she can make a whole bunch more money. So she just said it was it hurt. Another. But if that person, that's the thing. If that person hadn't said something bad about her to management, then and
Yeah.
cause that she wouldn't have found this, which now she's glad that happened, because
Yeah.
now she's really happy. So figuring these things out, Natasha, is
It's not always easy because sometimes the universe will kind of stir the pot, for lack of a better word, um,
yeah,
and get us moving by making life a little difficult, a lot, making people's emotions a little difficult to deal with, having bosses, not be nice, those kinds of things. Like I was going through something in my morning job, and I was like checking in. Is this my time to leave? Is this my time to leave? Or is it me to help make movement happen in a different way? Am I supposed to leave because of the action, or am I
yeah,
part of the pivot to stand, like be a peg that stands and says, this is not acceptable. We need to change. Am
yeah,
I the pivot for the change, or am I the change that needs to happen and move out? And
yeah,
I haven't figured that one out yet, but I know that I will probably towards the beginning of the next year, here. But that's the thing is that, checking in with what are we supposed to do? What feels right? Should I leave? Because many of us stay past the time that we should leave a job. And
Yeah.
I can say that with me, but being dyslexic, I have, in my perception, doing jobs, as dyslexic as I am, it's hard to do like office jobs. It's hard to do
Yeah.
things that are, like if I wasn't doing this, I would be doing feng shui. I'd be helping people clean out their homes, organize their homes. But a lot of my jobs that I do are more, I don't want to call it physical, but outside of, it's not like typing on a typewriter. It takes me, I go A, B, C, D, E, because it's like I'm so slow at it. So
I
Paula
used to
says,
have, okay, what did she say? Go ahead.
oh, the biggest recent change during an astrology reading, I mentioned I was going to sell my house and move to Arizona. Within
Whoa.
5 minutes of that, my boss fired me through a text.
Wow, Paula. She was getting
And my
something
my
on the
world,
inner.
and I was totally in shock. I have been actively trying to get to Arizona.
Wow. So she's going through the change right now, like
Yeah,
figuring
good
it out.
job persevering, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, my, as being a ventriloquist for 30 years, and doing this corporate work, my, Andy, my little boy dummy, had a joke where the guy at work was dyslexic, and he had made it work. It was lighthearted. They weren't running him down for anything, but they make jokes once in a while. So I remember my dummy says to him, uh, I forget exactly how I worded it, but and he's talking to the guy. He says, "Well, you're dyslexic." I was just, he says, "What do you think about changing your name to Bob?" You know. So he had to think about me and go, "Oh yeah, okay." So and then it took everybody a minute to get it, but it was funny. But now,
Yeah, so
Paula, right?
she also said, sorry about this. Lesson learned, not all as it seems, as there's two sides to every relationship. They
Yeah,
can't feel my emotions. Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing
yeah,
is that I'm learning that, a couple people around me lately have said, "Why are you communicating that?" And I'm like going, because if you don't communicate, then people will misunderstand, or things will slip through the cracks, or things will happen differently, or those kinds of things. And it's an interesting place. But Paula, good job for persevering. And I know a lot of people are moving to Arizona, so it's a little bit different, to negotiate that. But
yeah.
what can we do?
So what's interesting, it's like she could be. I'm just thinking of the heat in Arizona this week. She could be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire because it's been over 110 degrees there for I think 20 something days straight or something.
Yeah.
Longer than ever. But for her to make these changes, Paula, right?
Hmm.
And there, Paula, from what I've learned from my clients going to heaven and back and having people talk to them on the other side, is when you're going through things like this, what they'll tell you that the best thing you can do is to do some sort of regular meditation practice, because in that meditation practice, as it quiets you down, you're going to be able to get your intuition's going to increase. You're going to be a little more likely in a calm, relaxed state to kind of hear or to get some help from the other side. Like you can hear your guides or feel them or whatever pushing you in a certain direction, in meditation. The worst thing we can do is just to get all like this, because when we tighten up and our emotions get crazy, we can't even think straight. So any changes you make about going to Arizona, don't think about it a little bit. Maybe meditate on it. See how it feels. Feel the emotion in your body, and see if it feels like the right thing to do. And then when you realize that, even ask for confirmation. I've had to do that in important junctures of my life. Natasha probably has too, where we're asking for help the other side. With me, it comes in threes. Um, like I'll want to know if I should move to Phoenix, okay? And then all of a sudden I turn around and somebody's walking by with a Phoenix Suns T-shirt on, just
Mm-hmm.
out of the blue, and I go, okay, well that's interesting. That's a coincidence. And then later that night or something, something will happen, and uh, Phoenix will come up again, and then another time, and it comes in these weird kind of ways, you know. Maybe you turn on a TV show and there's some people moving to Phoenix. Well, the universe will help you find those three things. And if it happened to me when it was three things, all of a sudden I go, okay. When I followed that, I tell you, I've had so many experiences where I went from one thing to something that seemed totally random at the time. But further down the line, I could see where that following that intuition was leading me someplace, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So maybe Arizona. What, Natasha? Now,
No,
is Paula one
she's,
of your?
go ahead.
I wonder if can you pick, or would that be improper for me to ask you, like with Paula there? Can you pick up something from her? Maybe give her some
Well,
advice.
I hear that, yeah, you're supposed to move to Arizona. So she's in Florida where it's 100 degrees. Um,
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah. But what I'm getting is that is I don't feel like that. I mean, I feel like that I mean, I know that you're tuning into your intuitiveness too, because you're pretty intuitive, Paula. But the process has been underway for about a year. I've property there, but it's most likely sacred and focused my. Okay, wait a minute here. Sorry. Process has been underway for about a year. I have property there, and it is most likely sacred and
Wow.
on my journey. Yeah.
I wonder if it's near Sedona or somewhere that way.
Yeah, and Courtney says, "I've always struggled with this. Yes, change."
We
Yeah,
all do.
and
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting though. But why did I hear that you needed to rent first? So do you need to rent something to be on the property, or do you need to rent? Or there's something about renting for you, and sometimes I don't know why I get told something. Sometimes I don't get a whole picture, but I'm hearing that there's something about renting for you to be able to move there. And between Kingsman and Lake Havasu.
Okay. I know where Kingsman, Arizona is. I think Kingsman, Arizona is more high desert.
Mhm.
Like I was surprised how high, um, by where the Grand Canyon is. This
It's
Flagstaff.
4:04, by the way. My time. Yeah, it's one of those things. So there's something that you don't have the ducks in a row yet because of there's something that you're supposed to rent. But sometimes, that's what change. Sometimes we have to go into that fear base, the anxiety base, and sometimes jump. Do you need to rent the U-Haul or rent the like a traveling trailer type of thing and put a trailer behind it and rent it and move it with you, or and then have it there. Be, you know uh oh, that's interesting because I just got 2 cash offers on my house.
Oh,
Congratulations. So, with going into that story, that, how are you supposed to get there? Sometimes we have to make the leap out of fear, and in
yeah.
spite of it. And that's what I've been telling myself, and I've been telling others, is sometimes we have to do things in spite of it. We have to do things in spite of it. Make that leap. Go talk to somebody that you're fearful talking to. Have a conversation with ourselves. Have a conversation with somebody else. Trust the process. Like the mantra that's come to me lately has been, I trust, surrender, and accept. I trust that I don't know everything. I surrender that there's going to be something beyond this in a moment. And I trust and accept that when I go forward, it might look different. And then I trust, surrender, accept, because I don't have all the information yet. And yet is capitalized. It's like I don't have all the information yet. So sometimes
Yeah,
we
I
have
like
to
that.
do things in spite of it. Do it because I'm trusting, surrendering, accepting, because I need to move forward, because but yet I don't know all the path yet. Nobody can see in the crystal ball, even though I got a crystal ball over there. Nobody can really see in a crystal ball what the future has. Even me, like I had a couple people who asked me questions and I this weekend, and I said, I'm not giving any answers that pertain into humanness, because humans are messing up anything that the universe probably had planned for you, because we all are fearful about something. We don't know how to do it, so we don't want to do it. We're not willing to learn to move forward. There's all these things that are happening that we do, and how do we manage it? But sometimes we have to do things in spite of it.
Yeah,
I like with the change that happened when my husband got sober. I didn't know anything was going to come out of it. I didn't know if he was going to be able to stay sober or not sober. But I can tell you, though, that trusting the process, accepting what was happening, and surrendering to the greater picture, he's turned out to be a better man than I ever thought he could be.
yeah.
You
And
know?
before I forget too, because I know these thoughts will pass. Um, there's a book that she can buy that may help her somewhat. It's called Inner Guidance: A Divine Birthright. Inner Guidance: A Divine Birthright by Anne. And I forget her last name, but you'll find it. It sold a lot of copies. And she will try to help you. She'll give examples in her life, but also give you some spiritual exercises to do to kind of maybe open things up so that you can feel that divine guidance coming your way. This is a woman who the book opens up as she's a young girl. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but it's such a great story where she's swimming in the ocean, and a riptide comes up, starts pulling her out, and she's starting to tread water and thinks she's going to drown. And at that point, she just opened up. I don't know if it was Michael Archangel, or if she just said Jesus or God or whatever at that point in her young life, but she just surrendered at that point and said, like, save me or something like this. Within a minute, a school of dolphins came up, swam underneath her, and carried her on their backs to shore. you know
Wow.
wow. And imagine that you're laying on, you can feel the dolphins under you, and they're carrying you to shore. And the book is full of all kinds of those miracles that's happened in her life, and how she developed this divine guide, this inner guidance, where she's known when big changes come, like you're going through now, how to navigate through things. So meditation's is a good way. Maybe booking a she could book a session with you, Natasha, and you could help her further or something.
Yeah.
Um,
She
these
said she
things.
went and saw an RV yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So, that's the thing is that, sometimes when you see an intuitive, then that's confirmation type of thing. I had to take a call, so I missed a few minutes. No, you're good, my dear, you're good. It's one of those things that going forward, and I'm so grateful that you're actually taking calls, and that's the thing, that we can't do everything we want to do, because when change is happening, we have to move with it, and we never know why that change is happening. And so it is believing in our greater good. It's believing in the moment, and it's that, for me, that I understand when change is happening, the more I can get on the wave of it, the better off I'm in it, than being underneath the wave and getting drowned all the time.
Yeah.
And you just had an orb fly in front of you.
Who, me? Or you
Yeah,
saw an
you
orb?
you you just had an orb fly in front of you, so
Okay.
you got some angels and some fairies working with you too.
Well,
um
this inner guidance, this intuition that you follow, and this change. Like right now, she's got offers on her house. She's been looking at RVs. If you do, research them good, because different. I have a Sprinter van that I travel in, and as a therapist, and I go city to city sometimes, and it's what I use as my second home now. But I live and learn. If I had to do it again, I would have done a few things differently. But listening to my inner guidance and Natasha giving me a hint, I was able to find this darn thing in near Sedona, sitting in the desert, right there by about 30 miles from Sedona, and
Mm-hmm.
had been sitting there for a couple of years. And if Natasha hadn't had something, an intuition about where I could look, I probably never would have found it, because I had exhausted my search all over the U.S. for one, and she helps me find one in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. But this inner guidance, I mean, when I was a performer, I performed at a big spiritual convention, so I was on kind of a high. But as a ventriloquist, I did a show which was so much fun. Um, and then I'm with somebody. We're driving around, and I had this intuition. I said, "Stop here. I got to go. I got to go over this hill and look at something." I don't know why, but I just said, "Just stop here. I want to go up and look." I walked up this hill, and as I looked down, I was looking down over the San Diego Bay. And as I looked out there, there was probably 100 sailboats, all different colors, all decorated and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
they were all coming into port. And as that happened, it was almost like in the movies where all the sounds and everything like that go quiet, and you're like something's happening in your beingness. And I just had this feeling come over that my ship was coming in. You know, it was
Mm-hmm.
so strong, and that thing went through there, and I just knew I had to move to LA from up north, and it was so strong that within a month I had I had my car and had a trailer behind it, and I uprooted myself in the Bay Area and moved to be an actor in Hollywood, and then things led from there. I was there for 12 years, so
And
you
that's the
need
thing
to.
is that sometimes we're meant to make a change for a short time because you moved back to the Bay Area,
Yeah.
for a short time to learn these experiences, to do it. So if you go into life, what is this here to teach me? Many a times that change, it's amazing. Like I'm going on a trip tomorrow, and I know that big change is going to happen. You
Where are
know,
you going?
down to my girlfriends in San
Oh,
Diego.
that's right, you're going down to San Diego.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so with that, I always know change is happening. You know, I'm a Cancerian, she's a Capricorn, so we work on each other's shadows, and help each other through our own shadow work.
Yeah.
And if that people don't know what shadow work is, it's that going into those places that it's like, oh crap, do I have to look at that?
No, I got.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's why I'm here. But that's why we're in life right now, is to do a lot of that. And I know that Venus is going into retrograde, and it's that managing. And I know a lot of times when I go down there, it's dealing with money things. And I know that's part of my shadow work in this lifetime is monies. And how can I manage it? Well, that's a good place for me to practice, is on vacation, right? So
Yeah.
how do I go forward in this dance, is by believing in what's going to happen. It's like, okay, things are going to happen. What am I going to do to do it? How can I do it to my better? What is this here to teach me? Why am I doing this? So I can come back with my feet being a little bit more grounded, because every time we go through something that shakes us up, we get a little bit more grounded about ourselves, because we know ourselves a little bit better. We know our reasoning for
Yeah.
doing things. And like you, Paula, moving across country like that, that's not an easy thing to do. That's
No.
a lot of trust. That's a lot of surrendering and a lot of accepting, you know and it's more, how do I do it? But sometimes how do I do it is along the way. Like my girlfriend, was taking a trip back to Maine. That's her home state, but she drove cross country with her kid. She had a flat tire, she had this, she had that. But it's like, who's to know you're going to have a flat tire along the way? How do you know that you're going to need to eat at X place and stay in X place during a time? How do you know these things? You don't. But that's the journey. Like me leaving yesterday to go to the fair, or the other day to go to the fair. you know I was driving down my driveway. Here's a rabbit crossed in front of me, right? Well, rabbit is about abundance. It's about taking care of your needs. Make sure you eat correctly, because they like the better things to eat, right? And it's about the abundance, because they like to have a lot of babies. They can, and
Hmm.
and don't run out of fear. in a way, because they do run out of fear, right? And then I turn the corner and here's a female deer walking slowly away from me. So care for how you walk in life. Don't, just because you're next to a road doesn't mean that you have to run away, right? So how can you not be in fear? And then I get to where I'm going, and here's a spider that decided to be underneath my cart. And so I'm looking at, okay, spiders about, weaving away, what do you want to weave into your new knowings, right? But yet I couldn't catch him. He kept going underneath and going underneath here. So I'm like going, okay, so how many times did I wait to do something when I could have just jumped on it and did it? Like sending out an email, and I had somebody who was going to help me and her life got busy. So instead of waiting for her, I could have just sent out the emails myself, right? Instead of waiting for the okay to do it, I could have just done it myself. And so I learned a lesson with that. And how do we go forward in that dance of things? And I've been I've been growing leaps and bounds with the help of Jessica, and I'm extremely thankful for the community I found. And yes, so Jessica is one of our mutual intuitive friends. She is a gift. She's doing amazing work, and I still haven't gotten my feng shui thing done for her fireside. So I've been working on that, but things have been coming up for me to do too. So
Yeah.
it's been interesting. So there again, it's like sometimes we can't do everything that the universe is wanting us to do, and we have to discern what we need to do. And moving is not easy in life, one form or another. If you know, but I know for me that preparing is the best thing I can do. So what can we do to prepare for change? And that's about, taking care of ourselves, getting enough rest, writing things down, managing our knowings. Like me on my trip, I started packing a couple days ago, because I didn't want to wait till the last minute to do things. It's not in me anymore to really want to wait till the last minute anymore, because life is moving too fast,
Yeah.
so do what I can do so I can move when the universe says move.
Yeah. One good thing, Paula, if you end up, or when you either, if you drive there, because you probably have some of your stuff, if you're pulling a trailer or anything, or if you get an RV or something like that, just do the common sense things, before you leave. What I would do to take a lot of the anxiety out of things is, it's not that expensive. Probably cost you $120 maybe, but get that AAA insurance, the one where they'll tow you as much as 200 miles. If you get the cheaper, it's just I'll tell you that saved my behind when I was driving my van. Back I was seeing clients in LA, middle of the night and out in the middle of nowhere on the 101, probably about 30, 40 miles from any town. My engine blew, and they had to take me, I think, 110 miles to a place that I knew would fix it right, closer to San Francisco. Boy, was it nice to have that insurance to not have to worry about that, because it's a long trip and you're going through with all the heat and everything going on. There could be overheatings, different. Make sure you have all your fluids there. Also in your car, carry a jug of, a couple gallons of water. I know if you get out there towards Arizona, you can be 30, 40 miles from the closest service station or anything. It's hot. So, just a few little things like that that can make your trip less anxious if you get stuck or have car trouble or something.
No,
You know,
she says, being a Girl Scout for a long time keeps me prepared for most random situations. Good
good
job,
for
Cindy.
you.
Good
Good
job.
for you.
Good
Always be
job.
prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing. So don't we don't know how to manage change until we're in it. And so being prepared is one of those things. Like for me, I know that I got some feeling that something's brewing, and I don't know what's brewing yet, but I heard intuitively, get my books together.
Yeah.
I heard also get my understandings together, get my website up to date, get a lot of things, to do it, so that when it does come, that at least I have some language, I have some understandings, I
Yeah.
have some wisdom. And just like you saying, Natasha Venter AC, well, who knows how to spell Venter, right?
Right.
Well, maybe I might change now my thing, Natasha Venter AC, and then too bad I can't put like angelic clarifications right under it. There's only so much room that
I
they
know
can
it.
do, and they
Yeah.
don't give you much room. If I had the whole screen, it does give me enough room, but not when you're sharing. So it's
Yeah.
it's not easy, but believing in yourself is part of it. We have to believe that we can accomplish it when we're going through change.
Yeah. And
That's
something's happening with her now as far as she's gotten with getting offers on her house, looking at RVs. She has a place to go, which is great in Arizona. So it's not like she'll end up not knowing where to go in Arizona. So there's a lot of really good things here. So I think it's just kind of smiling and
breathing.
yeah. And if you haven't met your guide yet or your angels, they're there in these 70,000 cases we've had through the Newton Institute where people go to past lives, see themselves pass away, turn around, they always is a guide or an angel. And what we found out is that you have one and they're there to help you, but you need to acknowledge them. So when you just before your trip, do some meditation, whatever, and say, hey, guides, I may not know your name, but whoever you are, male, female, androgynous, energy, whatever you are, just help guide me, keep me safe, and help me to intuitively listen to where you're trying to guide me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then go for it because change can be very exciting. You might have to go through some difficulties, but she's going to meet new friends, people she never even knew existed right
I
now.
know there's always positive in the shadow work. With
Yeah,
anything we do, there's always positive,
yeah.
there's the light and the
Concentrate.
heavier. I'm going to call it heavier that we have to
Yes.
manage. But how do we manage that? By just saying, what do I have to do now? What is this? What is my opportunity? Where am I going?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So thank you, Paula. Yeah, great advice. And that goes for anybody. At any point in time we can call upon the angels to help us to negotiate it. I'm setting that up for my trip. Let me wake up gracefully. Let me
Yeah.
get to the plane gracefully. Let everything flow gracefully. Let the plane take off and land, and then take off again, and then have me land. you know let the Southwest talks have grace to them, so that I can make sure that I fly, and everybody else who's meant to fly. It's just not about me.
Yeah.
So it's that negotiation, our story. So, but we're here at 5 o'clock.
I know already. We had some nice people today, which was great. Thank you all for listening and chiming in. And I guess in closing, change is inevitable. So embrace it. Embrace it as something that's normal, and embrace it as much as you can with open arms. Don't feel bad if you're like this for a few minutes, but then just open your arms and say, hey, change is good. And what am I going to learn from this? And get excited about it because it's going to happen. Meditation is going to help you to widen your intuition. You can seek help from somebody like Natasha or I if you need some counseling or whatever, either just common sense life coaching or some spiritual counseling. And we're happy to help you. I'm at visittheafterlife.com. Um, my name is Regan, and there's a contact page, a phone number, and everything on there if you need some help. I do regular therapy also, but I specialize in doing the past life regressions, which leads you to seeing yourself pass away and then going where you go in between lives, spending a couple hours there. And it's kind of life changing. So you can get a hold of me there. And Natasha, now, even though you're Natasha AC there, but for people to get to your website, they got to go to
There.
angelicclarifications.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And I know that, Regan, let's go to you, because I know for whoever you have a session with, you treat them with such care and love, and just you embrace who they are. There's no judgment. You take a little extra time because you want to make sure you do everything to the P's and
Mm-hmm.
Q's that you can. You're such a blessing. I just appreciate everything that you do with every um, person that you meet. You just have such love and care. So thank
Thank you.
you. Yeah.
I'm working on it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
We're all a work in progress.
It's what we signed up for, is to help other
Exactly.
people.
Exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
Natasha Venter, multi-life intuitive. Right now I have a really good uh, program where, a lot of us are feeling very stuck, and I have a past life DNA um, work to do some possible healing if it's possible, because it's up to us to believe in it. That's why I say possible. And it's old patterns that create some of our old stories that that we're meant to release. And so how can we release them? And sometimes it is about doing our DNA past life um, aspects of looking into it. So we are live Mondays and Wednesday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. So if you would like to get another chance to catch us at this time again on Wednesday, I think I'm going to do about believing. How can we believe? How can we believe when things are looking negative? How can we believe when things are struggling? So I'm thinking
Hmm.
that's going to be on Wednesday's show for Natasha Venter, or Life Clarifications with Natasha. Regan and I do a lot of the same things, but at the same time, though, there's something more expanded soul wise when we're doing our show. And then I get down into the nitty gritty of the humanness. So with
Yeah.
that, so please watch, please like if you like this, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And if you know somebody who can use this, please share it. It's about community. It's not about anything else besides we want people to know that there's hope out there. And being human is not easy, yet at the same time, it's our perspective that can make the difference between going through the mud or having a little bit lighter walk.
Right.
So, blessings to everybody. And thank you for being here, everyone who chimed in and communicated. So
Yeah.
grateful for that. I love the community that we have.
And good luck to you,
Blessings
Paula.
by,
Yeah.
yes,
Hey, if you
blessings,
get to,
and may the angels show you the way, and everybody who's going through change.
yeah,
Bye now.
if you get to Arizona, Paula, then let us know your adventures along the way. That would be great. Okay. See you later.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.